Sonic, the heart of your system.
I'm the awarded for Kit Guru. Some little while ago, Asrock introduced us to the Phantom brand. So this is the Z390 Phantom Gaming 6 motherboard. This is the Phantom Gaming RX 590 graphics card. Asrock's gone a step further, however, than just simply having a brand. They've formed an alliance, the Phantom Gaming Alliance, with Cooler Master. So here we have their H500P, which we are familiar with. But here we have Phantom Gaming Edition. We've also got a liquid cooler from them and a power supply. I don't think there's anything particularly Phantom-y about those parts, but this is. And Team Group SSDs and memory, because you require those for PC builds. I've added to the pot this Intel processor, because that'll be quite important, but I should have everything I need for a PC. So it's an excuse just to build a PC, essentially. The Phantom Gaming Alliance, according to the PR stuff that we've been sent, particularly by Cooler Master, but also by Asrock, fast, mysterious, and unbeatable. I'm not a great one for marketing speak personally, but as far as I can interpret it until I open the box and I know more, really what it means is kind of a grey and red theme throughout. That's really what this is about. Nonetheless, who needs an excuse to build a PC? It's fun. Let's just unbox the case so we can clear the packaging out of the way. Oh, grey, red and black. And on the back panel, yeah, that looks the part. Glass panel off. And let's start by putting in the power supply. Take off the rear panel because that's going to have to come off at some point. This is the updated H500, which means the top cover does not come off when you just pick it up. Let's take out that thumb screw, and now the top cover comes away. Put the thumb screw back in so I can find it later. So the Phantomness is that piece of plastic there, that paint job on the top panel, fast, mysterious, unbeatable on that side, but not on that side. And then we have the front with the same paint job and no logo, but fair enough. So just the most completely visible parts. As we know, the signature feature with the what on earth is that? It's a protective something or other. As we know, the feature with this case is the pair of 200mm fans at the front. I'm assuming they're RGB. Must confess I lose track of the various H500 models from Cooler Master. Go around the back, take off the power supply plate. Nice and easy does it. Loads of cables. Bit of RGB going on there. What's for the best? So, ah yes, it all comes back. All that cabling. Okay, and that's just a cover on the back of the motherboard tray. Right, so power supply, we'll just put it in and we'll leave all the cabling in place for the time being. Fully modular does indeed mean even the main cable is disconnected. What else are we going to need? Right, so that is an EPS cable, no markings either end, but that's the 4+4, which means that's the motherboard end, so therefore that's the power supply end. So, how many graphics card connectors do I need for an RX 590? That's a very good question. It's a double-headed job, so if I put one in, that will do the trick. RGB USB galore. Doesn't appear to be any requirement for power for that, but the liquid cooler. Master Liquid 240R, that's going to need power of some description. What does it require? RGB pump. What have we got here? Loads of RGB and a PWM connection. Doesn't appear to actually require any external power. Load more cables, more USB, more RGB. How much RGB? Good lord. Doesn't appear to require any more power. Okay. Need the screws from the accessory kit for the case to install the power supply. That is an RGB header included with a SATA converter. That's going to be to power the RGB if I don't have a correct header on. If that Z390 Phantom motherboard doesn't have the correct headers for the RGB for this case, well, that would be ironic. I'm going to say that it does. One of these days, Cooler Master is going to start separating all the accessories instead of just giving you one mixed bag of stuff. Just a thought. So, push the power supply back, or put it back so it's just projecting from the case so we can see what we're doing. And then we want to put one of the screws in this plate, offer it up. This piece of bracketry from Cooler Master, I would say, is one of the flimsiest power supply brackets I've ever felt, but once it's all screwed together it will do a perfectly sound job. But at this moment what I want to avoid doing is bending it. So those screws done loosely, on that into place and finger tight. Do up the 4 for the power supply properly. And do up the thumb screws. Power supply in place. Let's prepare a motherboard. Standard Asrock thing where the board's cable tied into its protective packaging. processor. Have we got any peely plastic? Oh yes we have. Take that off there. Looks like nothing else. And let's get this the right way around. So it's a Core i7 what is this? Core i7-9700K, so that's the 8-core, 8-thread processor. Haven't actually used this processor before, that's brand new, that is. In the socket, socket closed. And we reach for the Team Xcalibur memory, which is DDR4 3600. Wow, blazing fast. Oh, and that is Phantom Gaming as well. So it's not just any old team, and it's colour coordinated. Okay, this is looking much more like it. And it's RGB, just as you'd expect. No connections or any such, so I wonder how that's going to be controlled. Separate software. Time to install the motherboard assembly. First things first is the I/O shield. Make sure I've got the case the right way. Okay, so that's the back, that's the front, that's the top. Twisty tie off the rear case fan, just to get it out of the way. And we've got 2 standoffs in place already, which means we need to put so that one there. Little standoff insertion tool that comes with the case. I find the best bet is to offer up the motherboard a few times just to make sure I'm getting the standoffs in the correct place, because there aren't exactly standardized locations. However, in fairness to Cooler Master, we have little logos here: E, A, M and I, E for EATX, A for ATX, M for micro and I for mini. So provided I put the standoffs in all the locations where it says A for ATX, I ought to be good, and so far that is actually true. That's better. If it doesn't line up, yeah, I probably got it wrong. Need 3 more screws from the accessory pack. Oh, didn't put a standoff in that one. Right. That one. No screw, no standoff. Okay, that's the motherboard in place. Next up we have the liquid cooler. We have the 2 200mm fans on the front of the case. It would be a tragedy, I think, to interfere with those in any way, shape or form. On the other hand, the top is open, so common sense I think says that we put the rad in the top with the fans on the outside in pull. They are RGB. Oh no, they are RGB. Okay, then let's go for push so we get the whole aesthetic. So we'll have the rad inside this top bracket and the fans on the inside there. Let's see, before we do that, for spacing, I think I just want to hook up my EPS connector for power, which goes to there. Because we don't want the aggravation of discovering that once the rad's in place or any such that it becomes more awkward than necessary to get up there. Well, this motherboard's actually got an 8 and 4 connections. God, that cable management holds tight. Okay. Okay. This is the 8-pin EPS coming off the Cooler Master power supply. I'm going to have to separate it into the two 4s and put them in sideways and then rejoin them. It's a bit unnecessary. Whew. I suppose while we're at it, let's just do the 24 pin. I'm sure there's absolutely no need to do that yet. Put that in. I think go from below. Okay, and the graphics card is going to be there, which means the graphics power can go just below that. Just put that through for the moment. Like thus, and the SSD, I'm going to mount it. Ow, that hurt my arm, that hurt the cooler. SSD is going to mount, I'm fairly sure, on there, in which case I'll just leave the SATA power at the back for the time being. We've got a whole load of front panel connections to make, but they're going to be at the bottom, and we've got a load of RGB. Don't worry about that in a moment. Four screws, top comes away, leaving it completely open. The top bracket comes away, which means that we can mount the radiator and fans to the bracket and then put the whole assembly back in place. I'm going to have the hoses at the front of the case, so we'll put the fans on with these nifty Cooler Master screws. They kind of look like cap heads, but they're not. They've got a crosshead in them. So you can install them with a screwdriver. Knurled, so you can run them in by finger before you nip them up. Repeat. I'm guessing the Phantom gaming part is literally a sticker, but what the hey. Okay, and then we need to attach the rad fan assembly to the top mount. Now then, whereabouts do we want this positioned? So let's put it there. And also Cooler Master, God love them, with those screws in those positions there, it means that all the others are accessible. It's surprising how often you put your screws in a convenient position and then some of the others are blocked off. Long mounting slots are good. Okay, now we just nip up all 8 screws. And we put the assembly in place. Make sure all the cables go through, nothing gets crushed. The top fan bracket, radiator mount bracket, has tabs at either end, which is why it doesn't sit flat on the table when you're working with it, but it means that it just locates in the top of the case so you know it's in the correct position. 4 screws go in, so I know for a fact the top cover is going to go on without any drama. As a reality check, does the block go to the CPU? Well, it does that way quite easily, but that PG or Phantom Gaming logo looks like it should. Don't like the look of that. Those hoses are quite stiff, so okay. Cooler time. Oh look, they've included some Master Gel thermal compound with this cooler. Backplate with studs inserted. That goes in from the rear, like thus. Spacers go over the studs. And then we have the decision. I've taken off the make sure you remove the plastic film. Not ecstatic about the alignment, but I think that's how it's going to have to go. Yep, the logo is 90 degrees out, but this way the hoses run the more satisfactory manner, so I'm just going to secure the 4 thumb screws like this. Obviously the graphics card's not yet installed, but I think it's time for cables, including all this RGB gubbins. Well, this looks like fun and games. The Cooler Master liquid cooler, there's the RGB control box, ports and connectors all around the blessed thing. There's the user manual, which would you believe folds up like that initially. Absolutely tiny little thing telling you what all these cables are to do with. This octopus-like thing goes to an RGB header, and then you connect the fans and the pump body to it, and then to that, and then I'm going to use some or all of those cables. So I think I'm going to just rattle through the cable management and make sure everything's connected up, including the where are those cables there? Including this tangler cables, a bunch of which are going to have to go to the foot of the board. So I'm going to get weaving and turn this into a working PC. Right, that's pulled the cabling into some sort of shape. Let's put the SSD in. I think earlier I said I was actually going to put the SSD around the back, but I forgot that it's an RGB SSD from Team Phantom Gaming Delta. So let us put that on this little caddy. Why on earth is it that case manufacturers and SSD makers put 4 mounting holes in a 2.5-inch SSD? You can mount things with a bit of tape practically. 3 connections on this SSD. We've got the usual SATA and SATA power, and we've also got a micro USB which is actually connected to an RGB header. So let's just plug those in and hope I've put them in the right place. Keyhole surgery it is. Keyhole surgery. There we go. Voila, and because this is addressable and it's hooked into the Cooler Master RGB, which in turn plugs into the Asrock, it means there's no separate software for this, so that's good. And now we just need to secure a few more cables and we're good to put the graphics card in. Now with these 2 little blanks, gonna have to trail that fan cable out of the way. This board has got 2 CPU fan headers up the top. I'm using one for the pump and one of these 2 fans I think is connected, and it's got 3 others. So I can't remember which order I've gone in now. But basically I've got these 2 fans at the front, 2 fans on the roof, 1 fan at the rear, plus that. So I'm actually using all the headers all round, including this header down the bottom here and this header down the bottom here, which is not completely ideal, but it has to be done. Oh, this RX 590 is actually quite tiddly. Good, that fits the case very nicely. Doesn't cover the cable management or anything. Just the one power connector, 8 pin, so let's have the one from the end. Gonna do a quick check around, but I think that's all the bits and pieces in place. It's time for startup. And we have the BIOS screen. That's it, I'm done, the PC's built. I don't know exactly what I've proven, but nonetheless, the Phantom Gaming Alliance is clearly a thing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that bell button, subscribe, we'll let you know about new videos as they become available. I'm Leo Woodard for Kit Guru. This is a PC showing off the Phantom Gaming Alliance with Asrock, Team Group and Cooler Master.